All right. Welcome back, YouTube. And Twitch. Welcome back, welcome back. I gotta remember my camera is here now, not down here, even though my monitor is over here to my right. All right, so you can see that I upgraded my wardrobe. Okay. Nice little outfit. And I got the dancing moves. So we are balling. Absolutely balling.
WoW, and then we started
Put
doing
on
StarCraft together, and then we went into
my
Heroes together.
artifacts as well.
Have you tried PoE?
No.
Only once to get overwhelmed.
I mean, I did that blind, and it's one of the most
Okay.
rewarding journeys I ever went on.
Berry.
It's an
Potion.
amazing experience to put aside the elitism that comes with that game, because it is extraordinarily deep. But you,
Let's do it.
similar to MMOs, and you guys will probably understand this, is like
I don't know
nearly
how
all the main content is
well we're
designed
gonna
to
do
be
here.
by anyone. And you then make a choice to push beyond that to the next big thing. Right?
I wish you didn't
if
go
you
so
upgrade,
far.
For example, like most people playing kind of whatever they want could do heroic. You can even pug that content. If you want to go to mythic, yeah, you're gonna have to start investing more time into it. Similar with FF14 and Savage. That's where you make that choice to go across. PoE is similar. It just doesn't present like that way at first, but it is still similar. Like I did it full blind and beat the top tier maps. I didn't go to the Ubers and things like that, which is where you then invest into like getting a real build, something that's been tested and seasoned and people have adapted onto and modified and specific gear sets and things. That's the next stage. But that journey that you go on for the first time and messing around with what is possible in that game is so fun, because it's an infinite well of things to mess around with and have fun with if you're not looking to like try hard it. If you're looking to just experience the game for the first time and enjoy that journey and be okay with failure, which so many gamers aren't, which is really sad. It's fine to mess up and have to respec or to make the wrong choice. Nothing happens. You're fine. The sun will come up tomorrow. It's all good. So, like, if you're okay with that and have fun with each other, like, oh my God, why did I? Because I definitely specced into things that just ruined my character on occasion. I was like, oh my God. And then I go out and test it and go back and like change it back. And that's really fun. Or you delete, technically, especially because it's such a loot-driven game, I definitely deleted things which were massive upgrades. Not that I knew it, but people were face palming so hard at some of the things I did, because you just wouldn't do that if you were a seasoned player. But that was the point. I went to enjoy it for the first time, because you can only really do that once. So PoE is definitely something I'd recommend. On top of that, it's... Oh, you're a duo, which I assume you've done all the main duo stuff, A Way Out and etc. etc.
No, not really, because this is all kind of new for us.
Oh.
Yeah. We podcasted before that, but about like single games that we sometimes play together.
All right.
StarCraft was kind of hard to play together unless we were trying to get pissed off at each other.
Yeah. A Way Out and It Takes Two. I mean, It Takes Two is my game of the year last year.
I feel like I'm kind of going slow, honestly.
But that is a pure co-op experience. It's not hard, but it's hilarious. Like, as a duo content creation team, it's hard to miss with that. I think the only downside of that from a streaming perspective is nearly everybody has played it. But I don't actually think in that game it would matter, because it's more about the journey. It's not really about the ending.
So that was a jump, wasn't it?
Would be very, very fun. Other than that, there are some really great things that I think two content creators can make together, including old games like SimCity, where you can actually actively, toxically attack each other by doing nasty things like, blow pollution over the other person's city to ruin their hopes and dreams of utopia. Especially if you get the community involved to mess around and stuff like that. My personal little successes recently of things that I didn't expect my audience to like, and actually they really jumped on, were Satisfactory and Planet Crafter. Building games, and Subnautica especially. Because one, everybody gets to comment on the design of what you're building, and they're watching you do it, and they're just like, what is this nightmare-fueled thing that you're constructing? And then when you're like, inevitably you're going to go, it's fine, I'm going to fix it. And then you set about it, like just seeing the audience react, like,
yeah, I kind of wish that spin didn't go as fast.
Also know things about the game that you don't know,
or as far.
That's going to go wrong inevitably, because they'll see you do something incorrectly, and they know that that's going to lead to something in about 20 seconds, which is going to be a big problem, and they just go. And then it inevitably falls apart and collapses.
Yeah,
so
they just lean in.
Yeah. Also, you could, I mean, it depends on time zones, but what we've been doing recently and we're setting up in the background is some more overlapping streamer stuff. But for you to, that's what I would recommend for you guys, for sure, is to try those things out with your audience, certainly in a co-op experience. But I think that's good stuff. If you're looking specifically for MMOs, a little awkward. After you get past like the big two, there are weaknesses that become more and more apparent. And interest. You're going to a niche audience at that point. So you do have to bear that in mind as MMOs require a huge time investment. And
Big
if you want to
time.
explore it properly, the people who love it want to see you do it all. And even though you might be having a good time, ultimately World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14 are kind of the big mega two with a big audience, and you're constantly shaving away at the potential audience for other games. So yeah, that's not a road I would super recommend unless you have a goal like I did with Project MMO. Like, what is our goal? What is our purpose? If it's just to play the game, past the Final Fantasy 14, you're probably not going to garner much interest, I would have thought.
And then you mentioned a new one coming out that you're kind of curious about, Blue Protocol.
There's like 4 coming out, 4 or 5 coming out. We've got some MMO Lights that's coming out. I'm getting to game test tomorrow, which is Wayfinder. I'm going to do some play testing on that. Blue Protocol.
I'm excited for Paleo.
I'm not, after I just played it.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know it's in testing right now. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, we have Palia. It's not for me, that's all, and that's fine. It's a Stardew Valley super cozy game. I'm not a fan of it because I need a bit of action, I need a bit of rough, I need a bit of edge. But my team, certainly one member of our team is playing the hell out of it, as are certain other people. They love it. They absolutely adore it. The monetization model is a bit scuffed at the moment as well. They've been caught doing some iffy things that they're trying to correct. So keeping my eye on that. Blue Protocol is the anime MMO, which has been made by a full-on anime studio. And,
Yeah, that one looks pretty cool.
Very popular Korean band, but the gameplay is really tight. So Amazon invited me to play that in London a couple of months back because they're westernizing the game. It's already out in Japan and Korea, but the westernization version they want to make sure is right. And me being a
fantasy starring it.
A little bit, like, as a non-anime fan, I was kind of the perfect person to come and check, like, one, we know you will not like the anime. That's a good thing. What's the gameplay like? I
saw screenshots of this forever ago and forgot about it. I really like how it looks. Even though I'm not the type of
the art style looks pretty good on
anime, but I'm not sold on a game because it has an anime art style.
Yeah, same. So I was down there to test that. I got a few hours with it and got to speak to the franchise director of it and have an interview with him, who's the former game director of Guild Wars 2, which worked out really well.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did that. That looks really good. We've already got Ashes of Creation.
That's going to come out in 2030.
It's going to suck. I know it, but I'm super hyped for it.
But hopefully in the good way. Like the arc kind of messy.
It's going to be terrible. I know it. I know it. I'm not saying it because of the studio or anything, but because I don't want it to. It will.
Yeah.
I know it.
That's fair.
But I'm still going to play it.
As an Aliens fan, every video game, I'm always like, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
For the longest time, that was me in Star Wars, and then they finally started making some good Star Wars games.
I actually want to go play Galaxies. So I mentioned it on stream, and the people who run the private server contacted us because they were in the stream. And they were like, please let us know when you're coming because you kill the server. Like, if we.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, they're like, we want you to come and play for sure, but please give us heads up of when you're coming. And I'm like, I don't know when that is, but I do want to try out Galaxies because I ignored it. My brother was playing at the time, and I was playing an MMO called Neocron. And I didn't like Star Wars, like we mentioned earlier. I'm not a Star Wars fan, so I wasn't interested. But the stories I've heard, I wish I was a part of it and a content creator when Galaxies was at its peak. And then they did I can't remember what the name of the expansion was, that completely rewrote the whole game and everybody left immediately. Like, they killed their own game of whatever that expansion was. So I kind of want to go back and see what it was all about because I didn't experience it when my brother and my nephew did. So I just want to try it out. But again, it's a big commitment.
It was a special game, but yeah, it was a product of its time in many regards too.
There was no game from my childhood I wanted to play more, but it was I don't even think I had a credit card when that game came out. Like, I don't think I had a bank account yet. So,
Oh, come on.
WoW Ascension, I'm interested.
Oh, come on, man.
World of Warcraft Ascension. It is a private server thing, so you can't stream it, unfortunately. But it's
oh no, I haven't.
Yeah, it's a server that's put roguelite elements into World of Warcraft and made new
it's pretty cool.
Like chronomancers and things like that. They've modified all the spells. Apparently plays super well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. One of my good friends plays it.
About it. I haven't tried it myself. But all these options are out there, but I can't stream it because Blizzard doesn't seem to like you streaming.
How strange. How strange.
Yeah, they get a little mad about it, unfortunately.
What's your I mean, along those lines, let's just start talking about your favorite Final Fantasy 14
Come on.
villains. You know,
perfect.
I only what you can see it actually. You can. I have it installed IRL.
For the audio-only listeners, Preach has a chat bubble drawn on his microphone.
I did. I lose my mind every time they do a live letter and it gets to like the miscellaneous changes at the end where they are introducing add-on functionality into the base game, so you don't need an add-on. And he's still... In fact, for FanFest, I was kind of thinking of cosplaying as a chat bubble, like a big, giant chat bubble like outfit, and just walking around FanFest as a chat bubble to see if I could talk to Yoshi P.
I could see my follow-up question going long. Are you good on time?
Hey, yeah, I've got nowhere to be.
I was going to clarify. So are you going to FanFest Europe?
Yes, that's why we didn't go to the Las Vegas one. It overlaps with ExileCon. Also, I hate Las Vegas. It's a death trap.
I've never been before, and I agree with that. I did not.
Yeah, it's horrible.
On the first episode of the podcast, I think, when we got back, people were like, "What'd you think of Vegas?" And I said, "I'm the type of person that always finds something to love anywhere I go." That didn't happen, really.
Yeah. No, I liked when we left Las Vegas and went on a road trip with my wife and kids, but then we had to come back. I was also there at the same time of year. That heat is just ludicrous.
Yeah, it's
not fun.
It's the hottest I've ever been. It's the hottest temperature I've ever experienced, and I live in Florida, so
it's disgusting.
It was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah. I like seeing my friends, and the con was so. This is because you started playing after Shadowbringers came out as well.
Yes, I believe so.
So this will be your first FanFest, yeah?
Yep, I ignored everything and live letters and stuff until I was up to date. So yes, my first FanFest. I'm learning so much about it. I like that they break the trailer up into segments and then muffle the audio and change things, so it gets that speculation going in the community.
Hide a sword, clearly. Obviously, hide a sword.
Alpha Noah in a boat. So I like that. I'm enjoying it, but I'm also glad I didn't go to the first one. Not to crap on North America, because you get the weakest version of the stuff.
We do.
Fair.
Which for us was perfect because we were not current.
Yeah.
So
true. Yeah, that's true. I suppose.
Like we had a couple people got really. Most people were like well-meaning concerned for us going. We had a couple people who took it way too far. But
in a way though, because they want you to have the experience they had, right? Like,
yeah.
I always look at it that way. They're not being malicious. It's just that they think you're really spoiling one of their best times of their lives. Like, not from your experience is the best time, but a best time they had, you're maybe not gonna have now.
Yeah,
and they feel they want.
All right, let's see. 4,000.
Square Enix's team is credit, and the folks running FanFest credit. There was an Endwalker recap panel, and they did a spoiler warning before they started it.
They know.
Yeah.
They're not stupid. They know.
But
so if you go watch our video, you can watch us sprinting out of the con floor.
But you said you went to
immediately
like ExileCon, so you've been to single game cons before then, so that won't be a new experience.
No,
because that's what really impressed us was because BlizzCon was our con up until this point, and
that was so
FanFest it was wild, knowing everyone's there for one game and one game only. And it made it really cohesive because you could go. I only caught like the very tail end of the cosplay panel, but it led into the beginning of the piano performance, and so it literally went from people memeing in giant grapes cosplay to the classiest musical performance I've ever personally witnessed. Yeah. And I'm like, this would never work at like BlizzCon because you got too many disparate people interested in too many different things. But here you can go from the squapes to, all right, let's bring out the jazz gowns and have a beautiful piano performance. and it just worked seamlessly.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it because I think the FanFest in London, I'm surprised how small it is because I was basing everything off BlizzCon.
Is the one in London smaller?
The one in London is 4,000 people.
That's it?
Whoa.
That's it.
That is small.
Holy crap.
It's tiny. It's absolutely tiny. And I was shocked. We've organized like a party because we expected everybody in our community essentially who could go to get a ticket, like they would for BlizzCon, right? And then it came out that they sold out in like 2 seconds. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I was lucky enough to win one. I didn't get like one from Squeenix. I won on the lottery. And then all our community was like, we didn't get tickets. Like they just went. We didn't get one. We didn't get one. We didn't get one. And I was like, oh crap, because we'd planned a whole thing to have in London because we were going to be down there, and nobody got any tickets, and it was a real bummer. And thankfully, with the revamped, they did it again. They like recycled it as more people did get tickets. So we're having like a 100-person private party in London, but we were expecting to do something really big and fun for everybody. I don't know why they do it so small, but because the arena they're doing it in, I've been to for a few events, and it holds like 10 or 12,000 people, but they're just booking one room for it. That's it.
Let's see.
I have a feeling they're going to learn some lessons for the next one. Like they didn't seem prepared for the turnout or the people or everyone to want to do everything because like they only had like one play pit for the trial that you could play. Mm-hmm. And it was the line was nightmarish. Like and I'm like, listen, everything about this I like more than BlizzCon, but y'all need to learn how to do game stations better because like you've got I think Vegas was 14 or 15,000 people, and there's only one thing you can actually go play. Everyone's gonna want to go do that. So
it might be because of the surge in popularity, because they haven't had one since COVID, and the downfall of Shadowlands and the surge over to 14. They might have underestimated just how popular, certainly in the West, it had become.
I absolutely think that's what it's a perfect storm, right? Like it's post COVID and post the explosion in popularity of the game. But overall, we had a really good time, and we had a lot of folks show up to our meetup that just came out for the meetup because they couldn't get a ticket at the FanFest. So you might experience some of that too.
Well, we have, like there a lot of people coming to look because we're having the party the day before the event. So I think maybe we're actually overbooked now, which is always the way it goes. It's like it was originally 40 people. Now it's a lot more. But a lot of people are coming who don't have FanFest tickets because they're also quite expensive. They were like BlizzCon expensive.
Not anymore. BlizzCon is more expensive now, so it's actually a bargain to go to FanFest by comparison.
Oh, good.
BlizzCon tickets are over $300 US now, I believe.
That's crazy. $300.
We only announced it this year.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So it's gonna be interesting. I'm still excited for it though. Like, I like seeing the WoW announcement.
Must be pretty popular.
Getting to see everybody. It's gonna be good. But FanFest, I'm hype as hell for.
Yeah. If I go, it'll be last minute. I'll probably just go to party at the Hilton. I don't think I'll.
I mean, what else are you going to do at BlizzCon? You're not going to go inside. Like, for real.
I have a buddy who's now on the Hearthstone team, and I'm so proud of him, and I want to go and party with him and say hi. And I know a lot of my friends are going to be there, but I don't know.
That's the only reason I go. Like, I love the announcements and stuff. And yeah, if we do an interview and stuff, that's awesome. But I'm not queuing up to play, like, World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Even though the BlizzCon queues aren't that bad. They go pretty quick, but...
I've never been in one.
Oh.
See,
I mean, the last like 5 BlizzCons I had a media pass, but the first few I went to, no one gave a crap.
Yeah, I'm not being smug about it. It's just that we do have like the alphas and stuff at home, generally speaking. So like, and we are fortunate in that regard. Is like, I'm not going to play it here. I can queue up. I'd rather meet people and just say hi to as many people as humanly possible. That's why I'm there.
Yeah,
which works out super well.
Oof.
Well, rad. Well, thanks for coming on. Mike, we really
this was a pleasure.
Your time today.
Gosh, is that podcast? It's already been up an hour.
It was glorious.
Jeez.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
There's been some comments in our Discord. I caught people being like, "Oh, I'm excited for Mike and Garrett to go at it because they're
apparently
go at it."
I wasn't as in the know about your takes, but people were like, Mike and Garrett had a pretty similar onboarding experience. I wonder how they'll get on. So
okay.
I hope it lived up to everyone's expectations. And seriously, shout out to like our community because that's how this happened. Y'all were like, oh, you recommended you should come on, and here we are doing a podcast.
Yeah, same thing. They came over and said, "Oh, let's do this," and I was like, "Thank God!" Like, because we were talking before the show, it's like the good podcasts just aren't happening at the moment. So to have one as good as yours is great. Thank God, because we haven't had one for ages. Because none of us want to run a podcast. Like,
it's a lot of work.
We all want to talk about games. Naturally, none of us want to run a podcast under any circumstances. So we're all just like waiting for somebody else to do it. Like, who'll do it? Like, we all just wait silently for something to happen.
Oh, that's hilarious. Thank you for the compliment. It's hilarious because compared to making a YouTube video, this is like the easy thing. It's like you just record and post it. Hell yeah, let's go.
It's organizing the guests.
That is a good point.
It's getting it all timed up right.
Yeah, that's why we
For the most part, as long as you have like the topics in hand, it's pretty straightforward.
If you do it that way.
No editing or anything like that for the most part.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you, and shout out to your community manager. It was super helpful.
Yeah, Lady Bex.
Yeah, Bex rules. So, Kyle, did you have outro music queued up for us?
What is in this button?
Oh, we're gonna find out. It's a mystery.
It's an older
this week.
one. It's an older one.
Well, thanks again. We want to give a shout out to everyone supporting us on our
Well, that's a shame. Podcast.
Gage, we are live. Hello, everybody.
Oh, hi, stream.
Oh, we'll listen to another one.
For the audio-only listeners out there who are probably like, are they still doing cold opens? What's going? Yes, we are. Hi, everyone. Garrett and Kyle here. We're here with Mr. Happy today. And this all came about because we had a wonderful dinner together.
Yes.
After the Final Fantasy XIV media tour, and if you're one of our less Final Fantasy XIV inclined listeners, that was a thing we got to go on like a month ago now, maybe 2 months. I don't know. We had to sit on it for so long for embargo. I don't remember when it happened.
I feel like I'm not doing as good for some reason.
We went out to dinner afterwards with some.
Also, I'm like getting no XP at all.
Which included you.
Jeez.
We had never talked before. It was one of the rare occasions where internet content creators got to meet for the first time in person, as opposed to like consuming a ton of each other's like YouTube videos or streams.
Yeah, and it's funny because
I'm like getting no XP.
I obviously knew that you guys were running the podcast. I knew what you guys were doing, but I'm actually, it might surprise you, I'm very disconnected from Final Fantasy content creation, other than the fact that I make content for it. Because
Same.
Yes.
Yeah.
It seems natural. I think it's how you have what's called that rare thing, the work-life balance. You finish work and you stop working, and that's where you find the balance.
Yeah. I was watching a video the other day, and my recommendeds came up at the end, and it was like top 10 scenes from Fresh Prince and like Michael Jackson's Thriller. And it's like, everyone's like, what are your recommendeds? And I'm like, well, they're not Final Fantasy, I'll tell you that. Like, it's like a scene from The Blacklist or something.
Okay, all right. I want to do this now.
Ooh.
Everybody, fire up your YouTube.
Okay.
And make sure you're on your personal account. Not, well, I guess, Happy, you probably just use your upload account, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Kyle and Mason's
my top recommended is this.
Oh,
Mine
nice.
too. Yeah.
Mine too. And then it's Wristwatch Revival, Good Mythical Morning, Donut Media, and James Hoffman.
Spencer Reed season 6 being hilarious from Criminal Minds is the first one that pops up.
So you like cable TV clips.
You know what it is? When I'm unwinding for the day, I don't want something that I haven't seen a lot, because it demands a lot of my attention. Like, so when I go to sleep, if I'm going to put on a show, I'm not going to put on a show I haven't seen before. I'm going to put on something I've seen a million times, so I don't feel like I need to stay up and watch it.
That's a good point.
And it's kind of the same with my YouTube. I've seen all of Criminal Minds, so I can just throw it on the back, and I don't really need to pay much attention to it. It's just kind of there.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I do the isekais, because it's like, oh no, another world. How'd this? I'm just out. Don't need information. By the way, mine is a review of Battleship, that fabulous movie. What was that? 2013. Earlier?
with,
I like that movie.
the one with one of the Skarsgård brothers?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say that's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Oh,
but,
yeah,
you
no,
know.
No,
absolutely.
I enjoy it. It's one of those this is so awful I'm entertained.
Yeah, like
Movies.
what was it, 2012? Like like world destruction movies. Moon blows up. Moonfall was it? The moon fell. It was full of
Who did Independence Day? Because that's that director's only good movie.
Yes.
Roland Emmerich.
Yeah, the Emmerich.
Like a
the
Roland Emmerich
business.
movie. They're awful except for ID4.
The Rogue. Well, no, Godzilla's okay. That Godzilla's okay.
great.
Yeah.
Godzilla is just Independence Day again with a lizard instead of aliens. Like,
But it's way better than Independence Day.
and Apache helicopters instead of jets. Like,
And it's still way better
similar.
than Independence
Still nothing
Day.
better, nothing better than that Independence Day scene when they just fly up and just, we're gonna make contact, and they just like flash lights at the alien spacecraft to see what'll happen. Oh, good stuff.
I like it.
Oh, that's wonderful. This
See,
is what we're doing. I think we just
how we
came up with
doing?
a
How we
concept of the show. Every
doing?
time we have a guest on, we're gonna be like, okay, open up your YouTube recommendations.
Let's learn something about each other.
Instead of talking about content creation and Final Fantasy 14, I would rather talk about everything else you're into that you never get a chance to talk about. Happy, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm
Cool.
absolutely okay with that. I've got nothing to hide, so.
Well, you just got into Elden Ring. Were you doing the Yoshi P challenge or something? You were done.
Got
quick.
into it. Oh, yeah, no.
Never played Elden Ring.
Into Elden Ring, I was.
I never
just
played Dark
got
Souls.
into it. Oh,
Well, I
man.
just mean the speed of which you seem to defeat said game and move on. You know.
Yeah. I've beaten Elden Ring like 15 times prior to the DLC coming out with like all different builds and like crowd controls and randomizers and everything. So when the DLC came out, I was like, this is pretty easy.
Nice.
Everyone's like, what's the difficulty so much? And I'm like, oh, that was pretty easy. That was fun. I was content with it. You know, it wasn't unbelievable.
Okay.
Good time.
All right.
Good time.
Well, now I want like spoiler-free impressions of Dawn Trail. Same style.
Same style. Well, so to be clear, with Dawn Trail, the way I handle expansion releases most of the time, Endwalker was the only exception to this, is I blast through the story, skipping everything. And then on a second character, I actually watch everything. I read it all. I voice all the characters if they're not voiced in scenes. And so I'm still playing through the story right now. I'm about at the level 95 point, so it's approximately halfway. And so my impressions early on are I love character building and I love world building. And there's a lot of that. So spoiler free, that's as most as I really want to say. I'm probably going to be in the liked it camp. It's a bit divisive at this point between a lot of people, but it definitely more appeals to me.
I'm kind of curious about that as a relative newcomer to Final Fantasy 14. Is it always divisive out the gate? Because when I was new to it, when I was new to this game in general, I felt like I would be drawn and quartered if I said anything even remotely critical about the game. So I just felt it gave me an impression that it was just beloved, and that was kind of it. Now that I'm current for I'm heading into an expansion for the first time ever as like a current player. Like when Endwalker was releasing, I was not even halfway through.
I feel like I'm picking up some momentum here.
So it wasn't even a little on my radar. So to me, then the almost 3-year journey I've been on with like catching up, I'm like, is this new? Is it new that it's divisive? Or is it always divisive? And over time, the people that didn't like it, they got it out of their system in the first month and we don't talk about it anymore.
So actually kind of right there at the end, it's always divisive. Every decision every MMO makes is divisive though. You know what I mean? Like everyone who wants to be a part of the conversation has an opinion. That's fair and reasonable. Just a lot of people are not great at expressing it in a way that allows discussion. So it's very at your throat style, you know, crazy, especially close to expansion.
Gosh, it is so hot in my room.
What ends up happening and the whole, if you say anything bad about it, you'll be criticized, is there's something that I, as a longtime creator, like to call emotional vampirism.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And it's essentially somebody wanting to absorb the emotions they want from you out of you. They're like, you need to have this experience so that I can feel that same thing again. And if you don't match that, it's like, oh, and there are a lot more. There's not emotional vampirism for things people don't like nearly as much as things people do like. You know, like people who are angry are like, yeah, be angry. They're like people who love it, don't want, oh, please love it. You know.
Yeah, I think I really only exist for Star Wars fans. I think beyond that, like you need to at least make the not liking it entertaining, like a mystery science theater or a red letter media. If you want folks to want to watch your reaction to something that is maybe not great, but yeah, I don't know. Well, that and Roland Emmerich keeps making movies, so what do I know? What do I
It's
know?
gonna keep coming up the whole show, isn't it?
Maybe they stopped. But and so I was going through your YouTube. I went back in time 11 years ago. Found you playing SimCity. Nice. Awesome.
Not
It's
the
not even
one
the first
everyone's
video.
thinking of either. It's that bad, like the most recent SimCity.
11 years ago, recent. Yeah, I mean that's still correct. Yeah,
Well, that's what they did such a bad job that they murdered the franchise for more than a decade.
yeah, yep, that's correct. And the best part about it was getting Mass Effect 3 for free.
Oh, that's right.
Apology game.
That was such they gave apology freebies. I forgot about that.
That was the Origin business, right? Where I own a couple games now and is now.
I think I got an older Dragon Age that I still to this day have never played.
Wonderful.
Probably
apology.
Inquisition then, I'd imagine.
That's the one.
No,
I
know
there.
I bought Inquisition because that's the only
okay.
Dragon Age I have played. I think I got whatever the preview, Dragon Age 2.
Yeah,
probably. But
you
well, just
played before Veilguard, the Veilguard. It's a new one.
Yeah, the new Veilguard coming out.
2000.
We'll see about that. I don't know about that. But the show, long ago, 3 years ago, used to be a MOBA show about the Blizzard Entertainment Heroes of the Storm. And I see on here League of Legends. You got some League of Legends gameplay on here. I see 40-minute matches. Nice.
Yeah.
So what's the pipeline there? There's a little bit of just like, I'm just going to play. It's the Let's Play era. I'm not really like, oh, wow. What was the business choice?
Yeah, I feel like my trash is not
There was none yet because it wasn't a business.
doing as good.
But you made it through kind of this just like Let's Play. And then all of a sudden, and perhaps through archaeology, internet archaeology, you have a 14K, a Realm Reborn informational week 1. So something happened that made you go, Smite game. Oh, I'll play some Smite. Oh, I'll play some League of Legends. And then, I'm going to just like lay a flag weekly Final Fantasy 14 content.
So, got to back up a little further for that.
Ooh, excellent.
When I was 13, I was introduced to a wonderful PlayStation 2 MMORPG by the name of Final Fantasy 11.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 11.
I got it. I got a
Never played it.
PS2 with a hard drive in the back, and I stayed up till 6 a.m. installing it. The day that I got it, I remember it very vividly because I was tracking time by watching Rush Hour 2 over and over again. It's just my movie of choice. I just watched Rush Hour 2 over and over again. I was like, okay, 2 hours have passed. Looks at timer. 2 more times I can watch this movie, and then it'll be done.
That's crazy, dude.
I used to do that with the first Kill Bill.
Yeah.
It would just over and over again.
Yeah. So then 6 a.m. rolled around. I started playing, and true story, I got banned in Final Fantasy. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't get banned. I almost got banned in Final Fantasy 11 with my very first character because I was.
How do you know if you almost get banned? Like,
because I had to delete the character.
Oh,
yeah. Because
okay.
I thought I was being a clever 13-year-old, and I named my character I Did Your Mom. And that's apparently
Oh my gosh.
IDIDUR mom.
What?
All one letter. And
Oh my gosh.
That you're not allowed to do that. And I'm like, I didn't know I couldn't do that. They're like, can you please change your name? I was like,
nice.
Yes.
You George Costanza?
Are you kidding me?
You're just like, is that frowned upon? I didn't know I wasn't allowed to do that.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't know I wasn't allowed to do that. Yeah. So then of course I went with my backup, Mr. Happy, which I already had at that point.
In the pocket. It's perfect. Yeah,
That is such a 180 going from
Garrett, did you have one? Do you have one?
that I almost got banned for?
Well, I was Al Capone, spelled Al Capone.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No. I've been a Green Day reference since Vanilla World of Warcraft because American Idiot was big when I started playing WoW. So no, I've had a bunch of hunters and paladins named Saint Jimmy. So yeah, and none of that carried over to 14 because I didn't think I was gonna like 14. So I named it after my favorite stupid Fast and the Furious meme, and now I have a Warrior of Light that I absolutely adore called Tuna No Crust. So yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Kyle, now I'm curious, Kyle, were you ever almost banned or were you banned for anything in a game? Adult sprays and the original Counter-Strike.
I modded my Tauren Druid to not look like ass. And that was against the terms of service.
It was?
Install custom skins into World of Warcraft.
I didn't know that was against the EULA.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't think they cared.
Yeah.
They were just like, go nuts. Oh.
Because it wasn't a modding file. It was their art I was messing with.
I was on an arena team in WoW that the creator of got banned. I did not name it, but he named the I think it was a 2v2 team named the Twin Towers Should Have Bubbled. And he got banned for 3 months.
Smooth.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Why would you?
That I don't talk to that guy much anymore.
Yeah.
Why would you name that?
Yeah.
Oh my.
I gotta give credit to Blizzard because I legitimately had nothing to do with it. I just a friend asked me, "Hey, you want a 2v2?" And I was like, "Yeah," and that was the name. And I remember at the time thinking, I'll give you points because it's a 2v2, but other than that, this is a little
rough.
That's a bit much there, friend. And then I didn't see him in game for 3 months.
So you had the pipeline of Final Fantasy 11. You're breaking the EULA, but you're okay. Mr. Happy comes online, and you saw 14 coming in the background, or?
Yeah, so 1.0, the disaster that it was, they were kind of thinking 11 needed to be replaced, Square Enix. So 1.0 was built on the principle of moving players from 11 to 14. And so they made a lot of the same. That's why a lot of the races look the same. There's a lot of terminology that's saved over, but I mean, the game was just an absolute disaster. But being an 11 player, of course, I've played 11 for all those years. I had to start with 1.0, and on August 27th of 2010, 1.0 released. I skipped class that day to go pick up my collector's edition of 1.0, which, funny thing, came with a mail-in birth certificate for one of the 3 starting city-states for your character names.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, they gave you a website, like a one-time use website to put in your character's name and birthday, and they would mail you like an Ul'dah birth certificate.
That's kind of cool.
I thought you filled out a birth certificate and mailed it to them. Okay, so
no.
Like, why would you do that? Okay, never mind. I mean, it's
still kind of cool though.
That is still a really bizarre
unique
keepsake in the I have gotten so much game swag in my life. That's up there.
A birth certificate's not on the list.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could take that to the DMV, use it as like a point of identification. Be like, it says here you're from Ul'dah.
If that isn't your next video on your channel, like hidden camera style, like I brought my Final Fantasy 14 birth certificate to the DMV, and here's what happened. Like that better be your next video.
I don't have the courage to do that. I don't think I could, because I'd have to go back there for like a real appointment at some point. They'd be like, "That's the guy."
What? I'm so confused how that even works into you played 1.0. Wait, this is 1.0, right? That you're
playing?
This
is 1.0s. Yeah. And then it was a disaster. I was one of the first level 50s in the game, which in 1.0 was something, to say the least. For those who don't know, in 1.0, you didn't level up your jobs by killing monsters. you had a character level and you had a job level or a class level, because we didn't even have jobs at that point. It was only like gladiator, thaumaturge. There was no black mage or anything. And every time you used a skill on an opponent, your class had a chance of getting experience points based on the level.
Oh, geez.
So you could kill like 20 enemies and never get
any
experience
experience
off of
Oh, wow.
just on RNG alone. And so it took 2 months to get to level 50 because of that, with a full group of 8 playing 12 hours a day in college. So that was a wild time in my life, to say the least. Yeah. There's a reason it's not around anymore.
Yeah, I've heard so many legends about it, and I remember I had a friend in high school who was like obsessed with Final Fantasy 11. Like every time I saw him in class, that's all he wanted to talk about. But what he talked about doing didn't change very often, so I got the sense that the game was very one note, very grindy.
Well, it's not even that. It's they just kind of released. It didn't even work on most PCs because it was way too graphically intense and resource intensive. B,
That's
they
so
didn't
crazy.
really come up with a content release schedule because, of course, they didn't. They just expected whatever they did to work, kind of. And then Yoshi P took over, and they had to split resources between making 1.0 a playable game and making 2.0 at the same time. So no, they really didn't do it. Pretty much, they would release a single new activity. It would be like, imagine if Ifrit hard mode was the only thing you got in a patch, essentially.
Yeah, that wouldn't be wonderful.
But was it randomized? Like, did it feel like the patch would just come out of nowhere, or
kind of actually? Yeah.
Okay,
a little bit.
I mean, that can generate news if people are playing. Also, the MMO news cycle wasn't exactly as it is today back then.
Well, it depends on the game, right? Like, because we came to 14 with like a WoW brain, and
oh man,
I love how predictable 14's patch cycle is. Like, I absolutely adore it, because you're coming from World of Warcraft. Like, yeah, it's kind of predictable depending on the expansion, depending on if they're going to tell you what's happening ahead of time or not, and also depending on if they actually hit their schedule. But then you also get into long periods of World of Warcraft Endgame where they're just jack happens for upwards of a year and change. So
someone remembers Siege of Orgrimmar very well.
Guess when I took the biggest break from World of Warcraft before Shadowlands. It was then. Yeah, it was like, I love that. It's like, Mist was great, but I didn't end with a very positive feeling about it, because I was playing daily, and eventually you just get bored because you run out of things to do. Because the end of Mist, there was nothing for over a year. Honestly, the end of Wrath was kind of similar. They dropped Ruby Sanctum, but that was like a drop in an ocean in terms of content.
I remember that. Yeah, I pugged a lot of Ruby Sanctum.
Pretty sure that's when I stopped playing WoW. Was after Mist.
So that was like
It's been a minute.
Point for me when Kyle, you were
been a long minute.
Get me interested in 14. Was just like, hey man, they put out stuff at a regular clip. You know how many patches there'll be per expansion. And to me, as a WoW player, and remembering getting like 1.5 patches in Draenor, and one of them was like a selfie mode. It was like, oh man, that sounds great.
It's a double-edged sword. It's an interesting one, because as a content creator, it's like, excellent, I'm going to pace myself out. I'm going to make this, and this, and then we'll have this thing. And as an audience, it's predictable, it's understandable, but you are missing out on that hope aspect, which I think fuels a lot of MMO news creation, which is, maybe this is the path. Maybe tomorrow I wake up and they fix my job. Like, everything's different. Just, it drops out of nowhere. I'm going to stay highly invested in this thing I'm very frustrated with, just in case at any point everything changes.
That is an interesting point.
That was definitely what I was used. I mean, especially because going from 1.0 into 2.0, I mean, that was kind of where I just seized said opportunity. Because so there's videos I think that aren't on my channel anymore, from like way back, because I used to like put my like computer, like my laptop screen, like up to.
I don't think I'm doing so hot with my trash,
because I didn't have any capture devices.
unfortunately.
So, that is so wholesome.
Yeah. So like I had like Kingdom Hearts 2, like final mix, like imported, like no damage boss fights on there. And I had like Final Fantasy 11 solos and stuff all recorded. on that same way. But then all those are gone, and the SimCity thing is pretty much the first thing you end up with when you look. I think there might be some Minecraft on there still somewhere too, and like League of Legends and a couple of other things that are from way back when.
So if you're doing 11 stuff, I'm assuming, because like I don't know your full history. You know, I've looked you up a little bit, but were you making 1.0 content?
No, I was still in college at the time, and then I started working in New York. And while I was in New York, I started getting closer to the space. It was around the time where like owned.tv came out, and then Justin had just released Twitch. So like, for example, I was watching a lot of League of Legends. Dyrus would have been the first streamer I think I would have watched long term. So at that point, it kind of just even crossed my mind in the first place. Like I'd always kind of wanted to do videos and do streaming and stuff like that, but like it just wasn't, the technology wasn't like widely accessible, and I didn't like have the money to like get into early streaming, you know? So it was just like, I just started making videos while I was working in IT because I was bored.
Okay.
That's how it goes in IT, yeah.
Yeah, like when I started working in IT, my first assignment was to watch all of the IT crowd before I was even allowed to take on an assignment from my manager. So
wait, legitimately?
Yeah, he said you have to watch the whole thing. It was like I won't give you any work until you watch the whole thing.
Actually, sounds kind of chill. I love that show.
Yeah, it's a great show. The British version, of course, not the eventual American version.
Oh, I didn't know they did an American version.
No. Yeah, that doesn't sound
They
right.
released like I think the pilot, and they never did anything after that.
God, yeah,
with the
that
American
sounds
version.
That sounds terrible. I would see the
Whoa.
opposite panned out, but I feel like that's the exception, not the rule.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's kind of This definitely wasn't the case with the IT crowd. No.
Yeah. Oh, that's freaking great. That's not a bad prerequisite.
No. And then so I started doing the information because I was like, no one's making content on this. Like I was really invested in the idea of 2.0. You know, we had already seen the posts, the plans, the ideas, and I was just like, nobody's talking about it yet, so I'll talk about it. So timing was good, but honestly, what I actually attribute to probably the biggest, I guess, fuel on the fire. I was doing charity work with Save the Children, and I was doing streams for them on another channel. And through that channel, people wanted to know who I was. So I got my YouTube to 1,000 subscribers like that. And that's when you can start monetizing it. And I had just lost my job in New York because Vodafone bought out the company and got rid of 2/3 of the employees. Because of course they did. Yeah. No surprises there, huh?
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Startups being acquired, always a fun time.
Yeah. That back to those YouTube recommendations. You may have noticed I watch a lot of car content, and the biggest channels right now are imploding because they were purchased, and just being all the money is going to the installed CEOs that shareholders put in power, and so it's interesting over in that YouTube space right now. But,
oh boy!
Yeah, this is like what we talked about when we had dinner at Media Tour. Courtesy of Jesse, who was like keeping the conversation going as if he was hosting a podcast, but no one had recording devices on them. We every single one of us were talking about how we started in this, and there was definitely a running theme of losing jobs or never getting jobs in the first place.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was young, out of college with a lot of debt. So I was just like, well, I have nothing else going on. So I might as well make YouTube videos. Now I can even make money doing it. And I guess at that point, the rest is history. My first real stream in Final Fantasy content was a couple months later. And then I was partnered by May of the following year. And it's been full time for over 10 years now.
So
that's so crazy.
Post 2.0?
Yes. I think I was in 2.1 when I was partnered on Twitch.
Nice, man. That's a long time ago at this point.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, you were in the early days of Twitch.tv. I still remember when that was a new thing, and probably the worst take I've ever, like the wrongest take I've ever had. Everyone thinks the wrongest take I've ever had is that I wasn't going to play Final Fantasy 14. That's what everybody memes on. But I remember Twitch coming out and thinking, no one's going to want to watch people play video games. Like, why would I watch someone play a game when I could just go play the game myself? And how wrong was I?
I have a podcast, and that's for people who are busy and in cars and can't play videos. Clearly, everyone would just play video game. I did the same thing, too. I didn't want to be on video all the time. I love picking my nose too much. It was a problem, but we're doing okay now.
You're just digging for gold. You were trying to find the riches up there. That's fine.
I see, like, there's this definitely like window on your
Yo, thanks for the follow.
where like you did all the 101 job guides. And that seems like that was kind of a back-to-back, like,
Thank you for the follow.
20K at the
XX
minimum
Silent
views.
Keeper.
Actually, we can make big deductions. Let's just, do the internet thing. Say, nobody likes Conjurer. Conjurer, no one liked that in 1 or 2.
Well,
right now,
my alert
that
worked,
was the
so
real
that's a
bummer
positive.
class. But so now we can kind of go back now that we have that history. Now that we've kind of seen your throughput and even heard some World of Warcraft in there. This is just pretty much par for the course. A new expansion comes out. There's some grumbles about it. You've been through this actually one more time than most now. So Dawn Trail seems okay. Seems like it's going okay.
Dawn Trail is definitely the best release we've had in a while. Dawn Trail was under kind of 2 extra levels of scrutiny that it needed to face. So we've had good expansion launches before. Heavensward and Shadowbringers are both smooth, whereas A Realm Reborn and Stormblood and Endwalker were not. Endwalker was the first expansion under, I think, a major popularity light that got blasted by its poor launch. So Dawn Trail needed to be the yin to the yang.
Gosh, this Final Fantasy talk makes me want to go play Final Fantasy again.
Disaster. So the fact that they had some issues, Xbox version barely working, crashing every like 30 minutes, definitely not ideal. A few other blunders with some bugs in game. And obviously people have their ups and downs about their job changes, but overall smoothness has been really good. Environments, encounters, and music, of course. Like the overall impression has been really positive. It's been a good launch. It's been a good time, and it's a good time to be in a positive headspace about 14.
I'm glad to hear that because we barely scratched the surface, and I guess probably should have led with this disclaimer. So if you're worried about spoilers, we're not doing any Dawn Trail spoilers today. If we get into any other 14 story spoilers, we'll shove them in the show. But I'm not even sure.
Finally got an event.
Day. So
I needed that.
Also, it seems like none of us sitting here have actually experienced the Dawn Trail story, so we can't really spoil it.
Yeah, and then if I want to talk about something later on, I just won't use its name. Like EX2, it's like Extreme Trials. We usually refer to them by like a numerical number, EX1, EX2, Final MSQ Dungeon. Some generic kind of holdover.
How's the difficulty actually on some of that stuff?
I might be the worst person to ask because I played for as much as I have, so I'm a bit skewed. I don't think the difficulty is necessarily any higher, but I think the way that all the encounters interact with their surroundings is more engaging.
Okay.
Which
I like that.
It makes it so that even if you know how the game works, you get more of those like, I died because I didn't know what it did kind of moments. So as a longtime player looking for a challenge, that's a little more exciting than I saw a stack marker or a spread marker or, a line AoE to dodge. Like so that extra level of engagement takes what is not necessarily something that's more difficult and makes it a little bit more fun, at least for now, until we get used to it. If they start following patterns and then it becomes just another thing that's part of the norm, but that's to be seen.
Okay.
That's something they said they were very interested in, that they felt like the game had become too predictable visually and they wanted to diversify that. So you're definitely feeling that on your end.
Yes.
It's the ogre's taking forever to kill.
And I actually think they didn't
do
that poor of a job with that in Endwalker. I can think of a lot of creative visual encounters that they made, stuff that's very fight specific, even if in the end it functions like everything else. But there's definitely a different bar being set here.
All right, this
with the frequency
should help increase my trash.
Just as much a part of the boss fight because I need to be able to look over there, or look back there and see something, and then the boss is doing something. So it's like I feel like I'm just more engaged than just, the boss is doing this thing, I'll move slightly to the left because I've done it a million times.
How you feeling on the? Well, let's just go one at a time so we don't throw the whole kitchen sink at you. But how you?
I'm trying to think what the average trash is here.
So
I have to look. I can't remember.
About Viper to begin with. I felt like it lacked a real job identity.
It's been so
It was
long
like
since I
five
did the
skills
guide
you
video
search
on
really
this
quick,
spot.
and I put them together sometimes, and that was kind of its entire identity.
I mean, that's the fantasy for some. Like,
I feel like I'm
everybody
definitely
wants to
below
get
the
to
average
short,
though,
and that's I
which is
tell
so
you straight,
weird.
yeah, kind of business. Love it.
And with that, I think it did a good job. I think it's more defined by its gameplay than its aesthetics, which I think are not very unique, not very interesting. But the gameplay itself is fun and fast. Now we know they're making adjustments to it already because apparently it's too busy for a lot of people. They're removing some positional requirements from things and adjusting some other skills, but we're still very much in the dark about what that actually means. So my initial impressions are not for me, but I definitely see the value in the experience it brings versus other jobs, which is a good thing. You want different experiences. That matters more than the job aesthetics and the identity. It's the experience that matters a little bit more.
Well, that's the perfect one to go into the next one where the aesthetic is really a big deal for many. The Pictomancer. How you feeling on that?
Picto's a beast. Absolute monster. Tearing it's ruining everyone else's perception of every other job in the game.
Okay, that tracks. That's a MOBA usual.
That's not that usual for 14. Like 14 normally has a pretty strong introduction for jobs nowadays. Way back when, it actually had really like when Ninja came out, it had a really positive track record, but like all the Heavensward jobs were like universally hated upon release, and Stormblood Samurai really struggled, and Red Mage was only kind of okay. But from Shadowbringers on, even without being overpowered, they've all had a pretty good initial impression. Like Dancer wasn't overpowered when it came out, but it had a really good impact on the game. Gunbreaker, on the other hand, pretty strong when it came out. And
Just sounds like a cool
Reaper, everyone
class.
thought was strong, but as more people played it, they're like, oh no, like
Yeah, Reaper's pretty cool looking.
It's on par, maybe a little below. Like now that everyone's more experienced with everything, so it's in a good spot. But no, Picto is like it was fine at Media Tour, and now they've gone too far. They've gone way too far.
I'm having a lot of fun being able to just fire off like historical questions with you because I only have roughly 3 years of experience, and none of that has been spent at endgame, so I haven't been in an endgame headspace. We've just been doing catch up. Now I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, what in your mind? Because obviously it's your experience. Like, can't speak for everybody, but I would love you to try. What is the expectation from long-term 14 players when a new job comes? Do you feel the community as a whole kind of generally puts? Do they care more about actual like power, or do they care more about the theme? Do they care more about it feeling unique compared to other jobs?
I think that's mixed. I think as you'd expect, that's mixed. People may see it visually and decide that they want to try it, and then they might stick with it. They might not because of the gameplay. Some people may not pick it up because they think it looks silly and not for them, and then they find out it's strong, and now they got to learn it. I would say there's no one dominant factor for that, but I think Picto's relative strength compared to its competitors is pulling a lot more people in right now than its aesthetics necessarily.
It's got to be exciting for some, though. I mean, you've been Black Mage for how many years, and all of a sudden, hey, can you play this brand new thing? And that's probably selling point.
Black Mages aren't as thrilled about it.
No. They've got an identity. They want to stand in their circles, and they don't want to shoot big art. That's not their jam. But as a business, and we saw this throughout, usually like around like 2014, it's like every single MOBA, this would be like League of Legends, Dota, Here's the Storm. They all went, oh my goodness, we need to stop releasing balanced characters. We need to make sure they're actually rocking so people will buy them. So do you feel like the game has kind of just been like, let's leave them a little overtuned, and so everyone has a good time on release?
Yeah.
No,
They always make OP classes at the very beginning. It's every game.
For example,
I feel like.
it was strong. The only nerf it received was to its healing, which its barrier was
Except for this class, I feel like has been not broken.
That was all they ever nerfed about it. And then every other job, even before the other jobs received buffs, they started picking up. And that seems to be kind of the place where people expect it to go. They expect the early adopters to make it look way stronger than it is. because there's a high volume of people playing it and producing opinions on it versus the other jobs. But the expectation is that it's in line with the other jobs in its own role once everything levels out.
What does balance look like historically? Because I know, like, they've already in Mediator, they were already talking about, like, expect a bunch of job stuff in 8.0. Like, they're already, from what I experienced, talking about, years down the road. But what has it been like historically as someone who's played, obviously since 1.0, but let's just talk about modern Final Fantasy 14. Let's just use the Black Mage isn't doing as much damage as Pictomancer as an example. Do you expect them to adjust that between now and the next expansion, or do they tend to?
It was the
sit on things
Pictomancer.
for a long period of time and try not and they don't do a lot of micro tweaks.
So they do micro tweaks, but they definitely still sit on those tweaks too long relative to the feedback they're getting.
Okay.
Great example of this is definitely we never get like a blast balance patch because something happened, unless it's like detrimental to the state of the game. We are getting balance updates on the 16th. We are getting them on the 30th, for example, this month. After that, it's like every 4 months is like an average expect. Okay. And sometimes they'll hold off the whole expansion. Be like, we'll put that in the next expansion one. Okay, great example of that. Dark Knight.
Almost done.
Endwalker, going into Endwalker,
Finish
the
strong.
whole of Shadowbringers, Dark Knight had a problem with Blood Weapon.
Finish strong.
Where it was
We'll do one more. We'll do this right here.
It was very clunky to try to make sure you got all the uses out of it because it just lasted 10 seconds. And if you didn't get all of your hits in that 10 seconds, you were screwed. Like it was just such a downgrade. And then going into Endwalker, they didn't change it. And everyone had been talking about it all expansion. It was something that was super expected. And the same could also be said about Machinist in 6.0, which they still waited even longer to change. And I even asked at a Mediator, I was like, yeah, Dark Knights are wondering why all these other jobs got.
All right, we'll call it there.
But Dark Knight just didn't. They were like, well, not every job needs to be the same. And I'm just like, yeah, but they've tasted what it's like to have the good version of this, where it's just like 5 charges and your ping doesn't.
All right. So we got 19.8K. Trash. I don't know. I feel like I've done better with Striker. Let's see. Where's Giants at? Where are you at? There it is. Primal Giant. So it looks like, yeah, it looks like my average was like 25,000. So 19,830, 300, 157, 7, 8, 10, 2. So 634 million. That's a shame. Huh. Yep. Interesting. Alrighty. Well, not too bad. Not too great. So, I don't know. I'm not really sure how much more better I could have done there. Just the initial kind of like this, like the shift skills is fine, but like right here, these skills right here, it's just kind of slow. And so I'm not sure. I don't know if getting to level 62 would help a little bit more. Also getting some of that extra special attack damage, maybe. I'm not sure there either. I'm not sure. I don't know. But alrighty. Well, YouTube, I am going to peace out. Hope y'all have a good night and a good day tomorrow. And thanks for coming by and hanging out with me for these couple of hours. And yeah, have a good day tomorrow. Peace.
Sunsets on that desert sky. It's just you and I. Weapons ready, no good.